So today we're going to talk about freezing of gait. This is like the scariest, I think one of the scariest things that I'm afraid to get. And I don't know if you get it early on or not, or just later.
I don't know.
So anyway, we're going to have Dr. David Hinkle on for the first time. Dr. Hinkle, welcome.
Thank you for finally inviting me.
Oh, hey, we have invited you before. You just happen to be a very busy guy. Welcome to The Secret Life of Parkinson's, a podcast created by people living with Parkinson's to help break the stigma of a disease no one likes to talk about. Now, here are your hosts, Jessica Krauser and Brian Baker. So Dr. Hinkle from OhioHealth, he's the head of the Movement Disorder Specialist department in neurology, and he has a very big focus on freezing of gait. I know it's been I don't know if you want to say a passion of yours, but at least it's just been something that you've been very passionate about researching and trying to help those that have it. So I'm really excited to dive in and see what more you can share with us. So let's jump in.
Yeah, I would say a passion and a frustration. I guess it's a frustration,
yeah.
And therefore has become more of a passion.
So here's the one thing that I at least want to start with, because a lot of people, not actually, if you've never seen freezing of gait or haven't experienced it, like I've never experienced it, but I see it, and I've asked questions before to those who have or are experiencing it, and they talk about it as feeling like, I remember Ginger said, she's like, it feels like, when you dig your feet into the sand and you dig them pretty deep and like you can't move. She's like, that's what it feels like. It's like almost like cement blocks, and like you're telling your feet to move, but they don't. So is that like what you hear most from people, like how they describe it?
Yeah, and some of the scientists that study this have commented that it's like the brain has prepared a gait plan, a start walking plan that just isn't released into action. It's like everything is ready to go, but it just doesn't happen. And so freezing of gait can either be kind of being stuck, you're standing, you can't get the foot to move. Sometimes there's a little bit of action and you're trying really hard, and the legs will kind of move back and forth a little bit, trembling in place. Sometimes you're actually moving, and then the legs will turn off a little bit and get a little more shuffly, and maybe the upper body gets ahead of the lower body because of the momentum.
Mm-hmm.
There's another phenomenon with it where it's environment triggered, where some people will do fine, but then when they approach a doorway or they're walking through a restaurant with a lot of tables or a cocktail party with a lot of noise and people and movement, that the environment actually is perceived by the brain as being an impediment that you can't get through, and will shut things down a bit. And so those are the components of it. And with what you said earlier, it does not happen to everybody. And for many people, it's not that intrusive. And it's usually a later development if it does occur.
Okay.
Does it come on like suddenly, or is it something that is like slowly builds up?
It builds in, and there are dopamine components and non-dopamine components. And so really the way the scientists have divided up kind of nicely is that you think about it, if I want to go across the room and get something, or I need to make an action, all kinds of information will be calculated by my brain about what I see, what I hear, my position, and a plan will start to be put together. And then there are automatic components that are kind of habitual and just kind of feel like they happen. And that part is contributed to strongly by the dopamine component of the walking system. And so people will notice early on that as the dopamine system of the brain is having more and more trouble, that those automatic components may not happen as well. So a quick step, a large step. But they'll notice that when their levodopa or dopamine drug is working pretty well, that problem is pretty well alleviated. And so the dopamine replacement therapy can still do a reasonably nice job. the problem can become for folks that that automatic system becomes uh, kind of rusty, frayed, and not working so well. And then people rely on the other component of this locomotor system, and that's called the goal directed as opposed to the automatic. And that's driven by a different circuitry within the deep brain structures that are involved with Parkinson's, but it's not dopaminergic. And that component of locomotion is driven a lot more by cognitive processes. So I want to go get that cup. I want to go get a piece of cake, and I can think about and kind of, in a way, make my legs move. And so what we find is as the dopamine system isn't as active for those automatic movements and the levodopa isn't working as well, people, when they get more frozen, start hesitation, turning, stopping, coming to doorways. They will rely on that goal-directed system to move over it. And so you have seen people and in the exercise classes think about taking a big step. Think about stepping over, do a little shimmy or tap your leg, or think about going past that door. So these are called cues that people use, and physical therapists are very good at teaching people to use these cues to overcome the freeze, even if the levodopa is not helping. And so there are visual cues, auditory cues of sound. So sometimes people will notice that if they have a metronome going in the room, or if they're playing music in the room, they can kind of walk to the beat. Tactile cues of tapping. People have told me that if they have something in their hand, that will break it. Sometimes care partners will say, lift up your leg, step over. So people can go after that more goal-directive part to move.
Is there anything that can be done, like in our age? Like, we don't have it yet. I don't know if we will, but is there anything that we could be doing to prevent us getting that type of symptom, or is that completely out of our control?
I think the quick answer to that is that we don't really know yet, because we really haven't been able to fully break through in terms of understanding the pathophysiology and even understanding the circuitry of these problems. It's still not where it needs to be. But my blanket response to that kind of question is, and you've talked about it with some of your other guests and have heard about it in our area in particular, the exercise, again, lots of epidemiological association between aerobic exercise and reduced risk for Parkinson's, later onset. Slower progression is really not proven, but big question mark on is exercise, aerobic in particular, protective in some way of the brain? And if we find that's true, then many people, particularly around here, are way ahead of the curve doing that. And there are recent community event, we talked a bit more about nutrition, and a lot of evidence, again, epidemiological association. Yeah.
Well, he's laughing because we just had Chick-fil-A.
Well, I also remember the snacks we put out.
Yeah.
For you.
We'll get past that.
Didn't fit the lecture, but every one of these things that we've done, there has been a little, we shouldn't have done that, and that's okay. But just in reading for that, I was just really astonished by the strong epidemiological association between Mediterranean diet, dark berries, fresh foods, less processed, and again, by some studies, later onset, lower statistical risk for Parkinson's, and by some studies, using mathematical models, maybe even slower progression of Parkinson's. So what I kind of think is we're learning what we should have known to begin with, reinventing the wheel, that if we exercise, take good care of ourselves, have a good nutritious
Yeah.
diet,
We'll be good.
to reduce our stress, because stress can brain damage, there, get good sleep, a lot of things that we talk about at our retreat events, lots and lots of good science showing protective nature. It's just that we don't know if we can take that to the human brain with Parkinson disease. So that's a long answer to
Yeah.
say I would keep doing what you're doing. The other thing that has really been interesting to me, it's off topic a little bit, but you had Ray Dorsey on
Yeah.
your and I think that we've known for decades about pesticides, herbicides, and he and Michael Oken and their book, I think, did a great job putting that together and talking about ways that we might be able to reduce if Parkinson disease is primarily man-made. I think it's a generous mix of industrialization, toxin exposure, and genetic susceptibility. The former we can mitigate, the latter
Yeah.
there's nothing I can do about my big nose. I apologize to my son that I gave it to him, but there's nothing I can do about it. But they had commentaries about vegetable washes and filters for water and filters for air. It's really, really interesting to me, if even after Parkinson's is diagnosed, if these pesticides, herbicides, trichloroethylene, some of these chemicals are really major driving forces. Just if you give up smoking, the lungs can heal up, lower
Right.
risk for down the line. What if you do mitigation strategies to reduce your exposure to pesticides and things in the environment? Between that and the diet and the exercise, maybe 10 years from now, we'll learn that those things slow down these processes and you're actually providing some protection. So that's my typical long-winded answer to say that I don't really know, but those are until we have more of a mechanism-based cure, I think that's what you can be doing.
So if there's like, we think or say that there's 1 million people in the US who have PD, 10 million worldwide right now. Is there a percentage of like how many people actually deal with the freezing of gait that we see? I'm just wondering, is it a small percentage and that's why there's not as much research or things on it? Or is there a lot of research on it and we're just not getting there?
Numbers by papers are like 20 to 60%, but I think that if people lived, the longer you
Yeah.
live, the higher statistical risk that it's going to develop. Part of the problem is that the circuitry in the brain is really, really, really complex.
Mm-hmm.
It is not easy. The techniques are not easy to trace pathways. You really can't use those techniques in humans. Part of the problem is we can't directly study human brain. We can't kill somebody, cut out their brain, and look at it. I mean, we're not supposed to, at least. But we're jealous of dermatologists who can take take something off the hand, just suture, study it. That's tough. So the complexity and the difficulty with actually getting to the working brain without hurting somebody is part of the issue.
Yeah.
And we don't have good techniques, our MRIs, our functional scans, nuclear scans just don't get down to the cellular level well enough to really look at this. So it just makes it more difficult to get to the root of the problem.
And I'm just thinking about like our little cohort of people. It's probably what, maybe 10% of people that.
Yeah, I'd say there's 3 or 4 that I can think of right now.
Right. But how many people aren't going to work out and aren't exercising because they don't want to leave the house because they're freezing at gait?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I do it a lot in my clinic. It's the type of thing that I think, most people are going to get if they live long enough. But again, every symptom is shades of gray. Some people have really bad tremor and some people have really mild tremor, but they still check the box for, I have a tremor. So it's not always functionally incapacitating, but there are other ways of assessing it that do involve, and it's some of the work that we've gotten involved in, and hopefully we'll be able to continue looking at muscle activity in the legs and
Yeah.
elsewhere.
That's what I wanted
And
to ask you. Like, what type of research, what is going on, and what seems most promising to you right now in this field?
well, so the quick disclaimer is I'm not anywhere near a, uh, a neuroscientist in terms of gait control. So that I'll just make that disclaimer. I'm just a simple doc, but we are.
I'm just a simple
I'm just a
neurologist.
simple guy.
Just a simple
Yeah,
neurologist.
that's all. Yeah.
Well, I mean, for things that I used to know really well in science, I know how much I don't know about this, but um, I have a collaboration with a group of engineers at a university and at a company, and we published about a year ago a paper in which we have sensors embedded into like compression shorts, like the sprinters wear at the Olympics, that just touch the skin but can detect the muscular activity. And there are 10 plus years of studies of using this type of technology, accelerometers, other types of things, looking at when freezing starts to develop, what happens to the muscles, what happens to the direction of the movements. And there's a lot of evidence that some of the abnormalities of movement, abnormalities of postural control, abnormalities of swing of the legs and the arms start happening several seconds before you can look and see that somebody's frozen. And with our technology, we kind of reinvented that wheel and showed that in the 3 people that we tried it in, we saw electrical changes in the muscles that predicted the freezing event by about 3 seconds. And a lot of the literature goes between 1 to 5 seconds. So it's probably an event that's starting to develop, making some adjustments. The adjustments aren't correct with Parkinson's, and then the freeze actually happens. The nice thing that I think about our technology, pretty much everybody that's published has used kind of strap-on leads for detecting muscle activity, or strap-on accelerometers that look for which direction, how fast. Ours is small enough and unobtrusive enough that you could actually wear it under your clothes. So you don't have to strap it and go around in your underwear. You can actually wear it and walk around your house or go out to the ball game or something like that. What is particularly exciting is if we could, we had 2 grants that got good scores, but they wanted more advanced technology before they'd give us money to make more advanced technology, which was frustrating. I have a grant in that I will hear about any day now to try to advance the technology. But what I would really like to be able to do with this is imagine if you're wearing, when we have a cure and we don't have to worry about this, great, we won't need the technology. That's what science is working on. But until then, imagine being able to wear compression shorts under your clothing. You do your day. They detect muscle activity, direction, synergy of direction changes that predict the freeze by a second or 2 or 3 before it actually happens. Then they automatically deliver the cue that works for you to, like a sound that goes tap, 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 tap to move. Or I tease some of the people I see, we could have your wife saying, lift up your foot, like she says at home, and you could have it happen automatically, or a little buzz, or a tap, or some type of cue that automatically to move you past, to pre-treat the freeze, basically, to move you past it. And that would be particularly helpful because the other risk with Parkinson's in advanced stages is dementia, unfortunately. And people that do develop dementia will have trouble with either remembering their cues, or they're slow in self-cueing. And so this type of technology could, on its own, automatically detect and treat. So,
But I know I've seen from other people that their cues, like whatever, whether it's like pretending like you're going to kick a ball or stepping over someone's shoe or stepping on a color, some like on the floor, whatever it may be, after a while, it's almost like that cue doesn't work anymore. And so now I have to switch it. So is that,
like it habituates, so to
yeah,
speak.
yeah.
Yeah, but there are different types of cues and different types of sensory systems that can be used to deliver cues, and people often can find a few different cues that work for them to some degree. Either it works great all the time, or I can get some partial relief from it, and maybe combining cues together, an automatically delivered tap or buzz combined with virtual augmented reality, putting a signal out in front. So that there's a lot of work to be done with that, because even the kind of the circuitry and the mechanisms of that cueing is not fully understood. So
Is there a difference in freezing of gait, and maybe it's just needing like something that gets you moving? And I'll just use myself as an example. Like whenever we do like wide squats or something where my leg, like I have to kind of rock myself.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. Is that a freezing? I mean, I'm freezing. It's not really gait. It's just
component of it sounds like a little component of it, and you've already found a way to cue yourself out of it. And again, it's all shades of gray, and I have people who have minor freezing for years and years and years. It doesn't mean that it's going to overtake that person, but they've noticed it, and they have found ways to work around it.
In our last few minutes, what would you tell, like, what's one thing you can tell like a patient and or a caregiver, like something that they should try new or something that maybe they should just at least be aware of or know? Like, what do you tell your patients with freezing of gait? Because I know, I mean, it is got to be the most frustrating component of this disease.
Yeah, it's I kind of think of cognition and gait disorder collectively as being two frustrating areas. The brain is a supercomputer, and we don't have good pills to make that supercomputer work perfectly cognitively. And then the gait system involves not only locomotor, which is moving the legs, but also postural stability. And there have to be good postural controls that happen to stabilize us, to allow us to walk. So it's a bit complex. What I do is I ask people about it. If they tell me they're having some issues, we'll go through, not as much as we just went through, but I'll talk with them about cueing and around it. I'll show them a few things in the office, but we will get our physical therapist into the room to talk with them. We are very fortunate here to have a large team of physical and occupational therapists that work pretty much exclusively with persons with neurological disorders and gait disorders in particular. And so they are very well versed in teaching people about cueing. And it has made it easier on me, so to speak, that I have access to that. But around here, that's what we do. We teach about it, and we have them work with physical therapy, and hopefully we'll have some updated technology, because I know a lot of people ask me when's the when's the next prototype going to be together, and can I try? But that's what we do. We really encourage people to work with their physical therapists, make sure they get to physical therapists, and then what you folks are doing, and Melissa hiding there somewhere, know that exercise classes in our area are very, very good at teaching people about that type of thing, thinking big, talking big, and that's in a way cueing to about it, to go for that goal directed side of the pathway, to bypass the dopamine to the goal directed side to make it work.
I have one last question, just because I forgot. I remember reading about this somewhere, and I wasn't sure if it was true or not. But when they talk about freezing of gait, it deals with more than just your legs. So it's everything's connected. Obviously, and you already said it's cognitive. But I've heard like if you start to get your arms swinging, because I do notice people who have freezing of gait, they don't want to use their arms. So is there something about like, is that just another cue, like to swing your arms to get going, or what is that?
I think that's a cue that you're
Okay.
describing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I wasn't sure. I just remember reading about it. But
I had a guy back in fellowship years who would, he'd freak me out. He would let himself fall forward.
oh God.
Like, don't do this. Don't do this. But he'd say, Doc, stand to the side. And then I'm delayed here. I told you. There we go. He would let himself start to fall. And when he got to about there, his leg would automatically kick and then he'd be fine.
Oh my God.
The only person I've ever seen do that. Please do not try that.
Don't try this at home, people.
Try that at home. It may be the last time I'm ever on with you guys for saying that. But for him, that was his cue.
Yeah.
And God knows how he figured it out. And I don't know if it lasted long, but I just remember that it was before I really knew anything about this. It was really earlier in my career. And I thought that was really strange, but now I get what it was. But he's the only person in my 25 years sort of that. So I would not recommend that one.
I think people just find out, obviously, just what works for them. Because I remember meeting somebody in like Southeast Ohio at one of the gyms that Melissa would help out at, and the guy built he created his own. It was it's like a cane or a walking stick, but then he had something sticking out, so it would be like someone's foot in front of you. But that's how he walked, and he just made it himself. And I'm like, whoa, he might be onto something there to make other people some money. He actually made us one at the gym, but I think some people were afraid to use it just because it's not what they were used to. But anyways,
and some of the items that are available now have you look down at the floor to step over something. There are some devices that people can put on their shoes.
Yeah.
The problem with that, I think, is that you have to look down to do it.
And you should be looking straight ahead.
You want to come up with something that you can look ahead, be in your environment, negotiate your environment, and it still pre-detects and still pre-treats. That would be ideal.
Yeah.
And then when a really smart person just figures this out and we don't have to, Parkinson's is a historical disorder, then we won't need to talk about freezing. But
can't wait for that day.
Me too.
Well, Dr. Hinkle, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us, and finally glad you were able to, squeeze us into your schedule. No, I'm kidding. But honestly, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you here, and we'd love to welcome you back at any time.
Oh, okay.
All right. In our last 30 seconds, I'll leave you with this. Freezing of gait is definitely a symptom that can be very scary, but there are things that you can try and do to help yourself with different cues, whether if it's something that you're listening to, something that you're visually seeing, or something that you're touching. Talk to your doctor, find out what cues, or physical therapist, what cues you can do for yourself, and just kind of try and retrain that brain until there's a cure. So with that, we'll see you next time. Thanks.